Hi, I'm Andrea Reichert. I'm curator at the Manitoba Crafts Museum and Library. We would like to acknowledge that we are located on Treaty 1 territory and in the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, the Cree, the Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and on the homeland of the Metis Nation. 2020 was supposed to be a year of celebrations for Manitoba 150. Manitoba Crafts Museum and Library has been able to complete some of our activities amidst all the COVID closures and restrictions. Just prior to the most recent closure in early November, we installed Handmade in Manitoba, which features objects from 24 museums across the province. All showcase something unique or interesting about a community in our province, and together they give a good picture of Manitoba's past and in some ways its present as well. Please join me on a video tour of this exhibit. This 14-string guitar is from the Burrow of the Glen Museum in Glenborough. It was made in the 1940s by Gudmundur Johnson, who in 1895 was a newcomer from Iceland. Mundi, as he was known locally, was a carpenter and farmer by trade and made a total of 4 guitars during his lifetime. He played the instruments too, entertaining family and guests in his home. Human hair wreaths were a common Victorian craft. This hair wreath is from the Tualatin District Museum, made around 1896 by Christina Dix. Hair wreaths allowed people to keep small snippets of hair from both living and deceased family and friends, memorializing them in intricate flower shapes. It's somewhat macabre, but also a really cool way to keep a family tree of sorts. Most of you will have heard of tack skates, but did you know that they have their origin in Brandon? Brandon resident George Tackaberry made the first pair of skates for his neighbor and professional hockey player Joe Hall in the early 1900s. Features of these early Tackaberry skates included arch support, reinforced toes and heels, and permanently attached blades. George Tackaberry used kangaroo leather, which is resistant to stretching and moisture. The boots, known as tacks, became the skate of choice for many hockey players across Canada, including professional players in the NHL. These particular skates belong to Andrew Cumberland, son of Brandon Judge Thomas Cumberland, who was killed overseas in World War I. This papier-mâché letter holder has a design of mother of pearl. It represents an item from the upper-class Hugh John MacDonald family who owned the large red brick home on Carleton Street, now known as Dalnavert Museum. MacDonald was a lawyer and was briefly Premier of Manitoba in 1900. The most surprising thing about papier-mâché items is how light they are when you lift them up. This Huron hunter bow and 2 No. 9 field arrows were made by André Rosier in the 1960s. Rosier was an archer, coach, and craftsperson from Notre Dame de Lourdes who was inducted into the Manitoba Sports Hall of Fame in 2019. He represented Canada at the World Archery Championships in Sweden in 1964 and coached many archers during the 1960s and 70s, including the Canadian team at the 1969 World Championships in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania. This crochet afghan is one of my favorites in the show, largely due to its irregularities and bright colors. It was crocheted by World War I veterans staying at the Winnipeg General Hospital due to injuries sustained during the war. This wicker sewing stand from the 1930s was made by John Ebers of Action, Manitoba. Ebers was truly a community-spirited individual. He would cut willow branches in the spring, strip them with a tool he devised himself, and soak them for at least a week in water, sometimes in a nearby ditch, until they were pliable enough to weave into baskets, stands, and cribs. He freely shared his craft as every couple in the area received a handmade laundry basket from John when they were married or when they welcomed their first child. In 1967, under the direction of the RM of Whitemouth Centennial Committee and the leadership of Master Quilter Mabel Wardrop, this centennial quilt was made to commemorate Canada, its provinces and territories, and its political leaders. Locals paid a small fee to have their names embroidered on the quilt too. This woven tablecloth is an example of the fine craft work of the Chanoinesse Régulière des Cinq Plaies du Sauveur, a Canadian Catholic order of women who significantly contributed to the establishment of Notre Dame de Lourdes. These women passed on craft techniques brought to them from France to the young girls they instructed in Manitoba. Established ruckworker Catherine Shurko donated this rug to the Winnipeg General Hospital, now the Health Sciences Centre, as a thank you for the care provided to herself and her mother in 1973. It's worked with scraps of wool in Fort Trail. Shurko was an established Winnipeg craftsperson with work displayed at the Winnipeg Art Gallery, Manitoba Legislative Building, and through the Red River Exhibition. This piece depicts the original Winnipeg General Hospital in the foreground and the 1950s hospital in the background. It was originally displayed in the Centennial Room of the cafeteria, and in 1911 it was placed in the collection of the Health Science Centre Museum and Archives. The Ukrainian community is a big part of Manitoba's cultural landscape. This kapeljushnya, or women's headdress, is typical of the Cherevetsky Oblast, Bukovina region of Ukraine. It was made by Anastasia Ilyuk of Sundown, Manitoba, who wore it for her wedding in 1903. The headdress is missing its long ribbons, which are often cut into short pieces and used to mark passages in a Bible or a prayer book. This beaded dove hung on the wall of John Edwards' family home for 50 years before being donated to the Fort Dauphin Museum. According to the donor, this piece was made by a Haudenosaunee craftsperson and gifted to Mr. Edwards, the first agriculturalist to settle in the Arnhem of Dauphin in 1883. The Mennonite community is another large component of Manitoba's culture. A hoe is a traditional Mennonite head covering worn by married women. Hoban varied in style, size, and plainness from one denominational group to another, between local congregations, and from one individual to another. Some tied under the chin, some had lace veils, and some were very ornate. Later on, women wore black bows in their hair instead of hoban. This head covering was used by Katerina Funk of Grunthal, Manitoba. Flamingos have long been a symbol of Transcona, Manitoba. These flamingos, affectionately named Floyd and Florence, were featured at Transcona's 75th anniversary celebrations in 1986. This rug hooking, called Homestead, is my favorite piece in the exhibit. It was made by Julien Bourgoin in the 1930s, depicting his homestead on which he lived with his wife Anne-Marie and their 4 children, Julien Jr., Renee, Leon, and Blanche. I just love the pink livestock, the cows reaching over the fence to eat the cabbages, and the woman cursing the cows with her spoon. This wedding dress with Romanian embroidery is made from flour sacks. Normally, flour or sugar sacks were used to make utilitarian items like tea towels or table linens, but Verna Badul, the first European woman to live in East Braintree, used them for her wedding dress. I love the details of the birds in the collar and the use of beads and sequins. It shows the thrift practiced by many in Manitoba's history, a quality I find admirable, especially in today's throwaway society. This Lucy's Field of Daisies bed cover was made on a handmade wooden frame with positioned nails and pegs. The cotton threads are threaded at various angles, and the design forms daisies after 8 layers of threading is complete. The daisies are then hand-tied using a softer thread or yarn. This unique Latvian craft pattern was brought to Manitoba by Lucy Aspet, who settled in Latonia on the east shores of Winnipeg River, northwest of the village of Lac du Bonnet. The bed cover was worked by Annie Bowman and Vivian Nespor in the 1950s. Many of us have unfinished items. This dress was made in Portage la Prairie for the occasion of Manitoba's centennial in 1970 and features a complete map of Canada in marker with the intention of embroidery, but it was never completed. Manitoba has only a few distinctly unique forms of furniture, but the elegant Red River chair is certainly one. This slat-back side chair exemplifies a chair design unique to the Red River Valley in the mid-19th century. It features splayed back legs, a curved back support, and a flat seat with chamfered edges. They are usually made from elm wood, which was once abundant in the area. This beaded fireplace valance blends the art of Indigenous beadwork and the decor sensibilities of the European settlers. It's from the collection of the Seven Oaks Museum and was owned by Mrs. C.L. McGowan, an Inkster Sinclair descendant. It's believed to have been used in the Seven Oaks Homestead site, as it's similar to beadwork made by the Inkster Sinclair family. Who knew that they made handmade 1/10 scale miniatures of tractors? This miniature Rumilly tractor, on loan from the Manitoba Agriculture Museum in Austin, includes an engine that can be activated to show the equipment in action. From the Scottish settlers of the Red River settlement to championship-winning teams led by Jennifer Jones and Jeff Stoughton, athletes of all ages, both amateur and professional, have been curling in Manitoba for generations. This crest was beaded for the Heather Curling Club, which was established by a group of Norwood neighborhood residents in 1915 and is still active today. Children used to travel to school in a communal van pulled by horses. This replica of a school van was driven by J.C. Dack in the Warren District in 1946. The interior comes complete with wooden benches and a stove, but at the time there was no USB port or onboard video screen like these days. I'm sure the kids were still happy not to be walking the whole way. The Monseigneur Taché Historic Site is home to the St. Genevieve Roman Catholic Church, built in 1918, and the nearby rectory building, which now houses a museum. This Calvary scene with 3 crosses is from the church collection and features hand-carved wooden crosses inserted into a glass bottle. No exhibit about Manitoba 150 would be complete without including the Metis people. The Metis have deep roots in Manitoba, with family origins spanning both the local Indigenous community and the European fur traders. This vest is typical of the style of beading and the fashion of the late 19th century, and it's from the Manitoba Crafts Museum and Library collection. Since well before the province's official founding in 1870, this area has welcomed newcomers, and Manitoba is now home to people from around the world. This traditional shirt from the Karen people was made from 2 lengths of woven fabric sewn together in a traditional style. The Karen are a group of peoples from eastern Myanmar and western Thailand. The cotton shirt was woven on a backstrap loom by Kaesang, who arrived in Manitoba in the early 2000s. Although the exhibit is installed, our facility is currently closed. We hope to be able to reopen in early 2021, and visitors will be able to visit the Handmade in Manitoba exhibit in person. In the meantime, we hope you really enjoyed seeing the exhibit through this virtual tour.